Well, what are some of the key things that you look for when you're working with organizations to improve their workplace violence programs?
Well, one is to make sure that they've established the right processes in the organization. So, we talked about having a centralized place for these kind of threats and incidents to be reported. Then it's the operational processes of making sure once that is reported that the right follow-ups are taken. So is that threat being evaluated? Is that incident being responded to? Are the right safety and security measures being put into place to make sure that the workplace remains safe and that inappropriate behavior, if that is what has happened, has been properly investigated and dealt with? But it also is some basic things like, has the team been properly trained? So for leaders of teams, for managers and their managers and directors and vice presidents and such, they need to understand how to manage a threat of workplace violence and how to make sure those get escalated. For the average everyday employee, it's understanding what behavior is acceptable and not acceptable and how to report that, regardless of who might be engaging in that behavior.
What are some of the common pitfalls for organizations when they go about developing their workplace violence prevention programs?
I think one of the common challenges we run into is senior leaders who don't understand the threats that are out there in the workplace. Either they're too removed from it or they excuse the behavior. And I think you really have to explain to them the competitive advantage a safe environment provides to their organization and how that impacts their reputation positively or negatively in the workplace if they don't. But I think that's often one of the biggest challenges is helping them understand there really is an issue around this in most workplaces and that they need to have processes in place to address that. The other issue I see that we run into here is that this is never successful without a cross-functional effort. There is a big human aspect to this that is, falls into the HR world of making sure that the team is taken care of and that the company's interests are protected. But for security, it's also how do we mitigate this threat, particularly if it is an actual threat of violence where someone's in danger, whether it's an outside actor like a domestic violence situation that could carry over into the workplace, or there's an actual, serious threat of violence between two employees, for example. There's a role here for several teams to be involved, and managing that in an effective cross-functional way is not how a lot of companies tend to start to think about this. They think of it as it's an HR problem or it's a security problem. It's really a leadership issue. And you need all of your disciplines at the table in order to navigate that successfully.